y'all, it's Drag Race All-Stars Season 5, Episode 5, Snatch Game of Love. A lot of people are mad that it's not the traditional Snatch Game. This doesn't really bother me, so we'll go with that. I thought it was a great episode. Snatch Game, I have mixed feelings about Snatch Game. When it's good, it's amazing. When it's bad, it is like the most painful thing to watch. In this particular case, I think we had enough strong performances to counteract the weaker performances, and I'll get there. So everyone voted for Mayhem, including Mayhem. I don't have as much of an issue with Mayhem voting for herself as a lot of people do. And I think it's because there's a point where you go, I really want to be here, but my performance was the worst. Or everyone's going to vote for me already, I can tell, so I don't want to burn any bridges on the way out. That's how I view it. Now, the queens feel differently, and I'm not in the workroom. I don't know what the dynamic is. But as an outsider, I don't necessarily see that. But I also come from a background of Project Runway, Top Chef, all that, where if you're kind of like, if you're like in the bottom, specifically team leaders, and you don't vote for yourself, it's seen as really shady. I know that's not how RuPaul's Drag Race works, but I think I carry over a little bit of that. Anyway, top winner, what does that say? Oh, India's been in the bottom for 3 weeks. This is the drag dating show of love, whatever. They're going to do Eartha Kitt. Now, I don't read spoilers, but people post spoilers everywhere, and I wish they wouldn't, because I spent all week going, oh, I was so disappointed that Jujubee was going to do Eartha Kitt. I was really disappointed, but if I had just seen the episode and not known that she was going to do Eartha Kitt, I would have felt differently, because she was an amazing Eartha Kitt. But I spent all week being like, oh, Juju, why? Anyway, that's just my thing about spoilers. I wish that Drag Race would get a handle on wherever these spoilers are coming from, because they're everywhere. They're on every video, they're on everything, and I just want to watch the show. I don't want it to be a full-time newsletter job, and I don't want to ruin an episode knowing who's going to go home. Anyway. So Shay's doing Flavor Flav. I've said on every season, I'm like Michelle in this. I'm not crazy about the drag queens doing men. But one thing I have to admit is that when they do men, like when Ben de la Creme did Paul Lynn, when Kennedy did Little Richard. I'm sorry, I just woke up recently and I got a lot of stuff on my mind, so I'm a little slow. They in general kill it. So good. But eventually one of the drag queens are going to do a male or male identifying, or someone that is not female identifying, and they are going to do it badly. I guess that's what we saw with Jeffree Star, although I don't know Jeffree Star. I have no interest in him, so I don't know if he identifies as male, non-binary, or what. But I mean, maybe that proves my point, is that when you do a male character and you don't hit it out of the park, it fails, I think, because you're already set up with so many things. But we'll get to Jeffree Star. Waffle Mikado. Now, I mentioned in the preview video that Alexis Mateo is never appreciated for her, I think, one of the first huge standout wins, which was Alicia Keys, pregnant, lesbian, horny Alicia Keys. And it shows you it doesn't really need to be an exact representation. I don't know Walter Mikado. I have no clue. I have no clue who this is. It could be anyone. But she came in with a strong, and it wasn't just the lines, because I didn't think all of the lines were that inventive. It was the timing, it was the patience, it was looking for those opportunities to say something. You know, like that, I didn't see that coming, or I saw that coming, is not that inventive of a line. It's like a tool, and it was used correctly. India did Jeffree Star. That was a frightening Jeffree Star. That was, to go back to Mariah Balenciaga's Joan Crawford. That is a rough Joan Crawford. That was a rough Jeffree Star. It was frightening. It was genuinely disturbing to look at. To start with, I don't know Jeffree Star, so yeah, it would have need to be turned to 11, and it wasn't. And I get it. I think this is something I would fail on. Cracker did Lady Gaga, and I'm like, not the cursed Gaga. I like Lady Gaga enough. I couldn't tell you who she is. Blair does Ellen. Not a great Ellen. I don't even know. Like, it would have been, I think a take on Ellen that would have been great, especially in the Sphere, would have been a really mean Ellen. Because there's all this stuff coming out that Ellen has had a really hard time in showbiz. If you go back through her whole story, she's really, she really had a hard time. And I would have loved to seen like an evil Ellen. I think that would have worked if it was like, I don't know. Anyway, so we saw a really sweet Juju tweet I saw where she tweeted Cracker a picture of her thermostat at 74, and it was a really sweet interaction. Juju is just to brag about Juju. I want to be your best friend. She is the Prince Charming that has come in and taken the viewership on a journey. I'm enjoying everything she says, everything she does. I think she is the exact example of a drag queen putting all of her energy into seducing the public and the production. And I love it. I love it, love it, love it. Shay is so strong, but Juju has my heart. Not that Shay doesn't. But I could watch the two of them. Just put them in every season. But Juju this is the Juju that I fell in love with when I first saw her, and it's like turned up, it's like the best of all of that. Like, she's figured out what people reacted to, and she's saving all of her energy for that. She's not getting mixed up in the drama, and when she's commenting on the drama, she's commenting to us. She's doing so perfect, and I want to see her do everything now. I want her to commentate everything. I want to go travel and solve mysteries with her. I just want to be around her. She's doing so good. Shay's doing amazing. Maybe not quite as amazing in the interviews with the fashion and all that. So much strong. And Alexis came in. I've kind of been... Alexis has been a little messy. She seemed a little too focused on playing these games, and I'll get to that in a minute about specifically what I'm talking about. Sorry if I put on one coat of mascara and I didn't even check to see if it's actually on my eyelashes versus my eyelids. Anyway, where was I? What is Tommy in the 70s? Don't know what that means. Man, I can't read my notes. Anyway, so I thought Blair lowered her voice to play Ellen, which I thought was kind of funny. Most of the drag queens raise their voice to do a female character, and I swear Blair lowered her voice to do Ellen, which was pretty funny. So Shay did Flavor Flav. So I like Flavor Flav. I like Flavor Flav quite a bit. In fact, if you can't see, it's Flavor Flav, Flavor of Love Season 2. So I am a big Flavor Flav fan. I think Shay made some really smart choice. Flavor Flav is over the top, but making Flavor Flav, I think you could have done it wrong if you had gone with like super hetero straight Flavor Flav, but this was totally like, I believed it. I believed that Flavor Flav was like gender fluid, was like, hey, you're a guy, but I'm into it. There was a lot of smart choices made with a male straight character. Flavor Flav is not even, I mean, he is a character. And I've seen Flavor Flav in everything. What was that show he did where they put a bunch of celebrities in a house together? Celeb reality, something like that. And he fell in love with Bridget, who's like 6'4", and he's tiny. So, was it Brigitte Nielsen, that's who it was. Real trip. Anyway, Cracker, you can just see her in her head trying to think, what would Lady Gaga do? And I was actually going to say, I wrote a note down to be like, Cracker should take improv because it helps you get out of your head. Then I realized, like, it's an improv challenge, so obviously improv would help her. But I think in general it would help her. I'm taking a class with Second City, improv for anxiety escape, and it's all about, like, being in the uncomfortable and trying not to be funny, but just being present and all that. And I think it's something, Cracker, highly recommend it. Recommend it to anyone. It's online right now, so you can do it through Zoom. Anyway, my opinion at the end was that Shay, Alexis, and Juju were in the top. I thought they all had super strong lines and moments. I thought My thing was that Juju was the only one who played a female character, and I kind of feel like they deserve a little extra attention for doing female drag. Some of the lines, I thought Juju and Shay were hilarious together. Shay is very good scene partner. She was wonderful with Sasha Velour in her season. She was wonderful with Alexis. I think that she deserves that nod, that she is so strong with other people. She creates a space to let them be funny. I think that's I think that would make her an amazing performer, amazing touring performer. Not that we had any doubts, but like, let's just take a moment to acknowledge that she could have shut it down and made Juju look a little, and I would have been the wrong choice. And so, but she didn't. She made it all look effortless. Not that Juju needed help, but we all know from Snatch Game that the people around you can really stunt your flow. And that did not happen. But let's not see, I'm not saying, I want to give Alexis her due. She had kind of too messy scene partners or weren't really supporting her, and she did an amazing job of finding opportunities where others kind of dropped the ball, picking up the ball and picking up the moment. Okay, can we talk about RuPaul's moment with Jeffree? So if you're not familiar, Jeffree is a host on one of the 3 judges and one of the 3 kind of like hosts of Canada's Drag Race, which I did a recap, so go check that out. But this whole moment between him and RuPaul was really strange. Was I supposed to know that I don't really understand what's happening. So I found that a little confusing. I think if one of the queens had done it, they would have gotten red on the stage for it not really working. Anyway, my thing was Shay, Alexis, and Juju all in the top. I thought it was so close. They could have been a triple win. I would have liked to see a triple win. I think this was a time when they deserved a triple win. I thought Shay was actually going to be a little bit ahead because I thought that the runway was so good that it kind of was like, okay, this is really like a callback and a moment, and you saw it all, and I put Shay as no joke. I get why fans do that. You watch the show, you think that you feel this connection to the queen, and when you see him, you want to be like, I get it. And it's easy to forget things like, just because I want to hug Trixie Mattel doesn't mean that Trixie Mattel wants to hug me. And that's a very specific reference because she doesn't like to hug. And so I've always kind of thought like, oh, if I met the queens, I would try to be really respectful and thankful and not have like a jokey moment, because I think that's exhausting for them to have everyone come at them and be like, I know you, I know who you are, and then be like, I don't know you, I don't know who you are. Anyway, that's getting a little offhand. So Shay is no joke. Let's just be really clear. I don't think anybody watched that finale and saw Sasha Velour win and been like, oh, Shay really screwed the pooch on that one. It was just a matter of Sasha pulled out something that was so amazing that the judges had no choice but to reward her, even though, and that's why I'm not super crazy about the lip sync being the final decider, because I feel like there's so much more. We had all those challenges, not many challenges this time. And I actually have a theory that the reason they've done so many acting challenges is because there's a certain assumption that by the time you're an all-star, you're not making your own clothes, you're buying them. And so that's why they're not doing as many making kind of challenges, and they're trying to do something like at an all-star level, what are you actually doing, which might be like product placement and acting and performance. That's what I think, but it looks like next week we're gonna have a design challenge, and so I'm excited about that. Sorry, it's a little bit all over the place. And then they put all of them in the bottom except the winner, and I'm really unhappy with that. I don't like that. I have said that I don't blame the queens when they play the game that's put in front of them. I just don't like RuPaul rigging the game that way. I want to see the best queens go on. Now, if you say, okay, anyone who, well, I was fine with the rules the way they were, but I kind of, it's just asking for this retaliation. And then let's get into the big drama. I said Cracker, so when they went back and Cracker's like, oh, I think, so was my notes. Shay, Alexis, and Juju at the top. My thought was Cracker and Blair were pretty close. Cracker didn't bomb, but Cracker didn't stand out. There were a couple moments that got a little laugh, and I felt like Blair was about the same. And then I thought that India as Jeffrey was frightening makeup. Actually kind of looks like Jeffrey though. So I don't know if that's really her fault, but I felt like nothing landed. So for me, India was clear in the bottom, and then Cracker and Blair were pretty close. I'm okay with them giving Cracker a little harder critique, but my thought was, I didn't actually know that. So when they got back there and Cracker's like, oh, I'm definitely in the bottom, I was like, well, she really jumped on a grenade, because you could have convinced me that they didn't like Blair either. That was my thought, but that was quickly derailed. I was like, well, I don't know why Cracker voluntarily put herself in the bottom for voting. But then, of course, that's when India comes out with this Alexis's. Now, I don't know. And I think there's really good reasons to believe India, and there's really good reasons not to believe India and believe Alexis. One thing is, Alexis, and makes more sense with the early, so when you watch the early episodes, you're like, that's so weird that they included this kind of like this Mayhem and Blair sort of moment that never really went anywhere. And I think I was going to comment that I thought Blair's response when Cracker asked her about it was a little bit like, what? No, of course not. I don't know what you're talking about. Just, I'm tired. And then, I just want to be on my own here. And I'm trying to, and I was frustrated. And I was like, why didn't Blair just say no? No, I don't know what you're talking about. But it was like, thus protest too much sort of moment. Last episode, or was it the episode before, when Cracker asked her about it? Sorry, I'm getting a stitch in my side. But now it makes sense, because there was all these little pieces that now we get, and there's all this information, and you go, I remember when Mayhem said, oh, I thought we were all voting for Shay. Okay, that kind of leads to the idea that maybe her and Alexis did kind of have a plan, and Alexis went to, but then they say, well, why did Mariah vote for India instead of Shay then? That kind of implies they didn't talk to Mariah. Now, Mariah could come out and say, no one talked to me about it. Mayhem could say, as far as I knew. But it sounds like it might have been like it could have been like a lot of implication, like, wouldn't it be nice if everyone voted for Shay and we got Shay out? It could have been something as little as that. I think Alexis, a lot of evidence for Alexis for it being true is that Alexis has been, like, she got all up in Cracker's face and she kept bringing it up over and over again. And she's been kind of vocal about, like, I don't know how to describe it. Like, she's just, like, saying that Alexis is playing a game. If you just said that, this episode is about Alexis, and it comes out that she's been trying to maneuver a game, you'd be like, yeah, I'm not surprised the first couple episodes showed it. But on the other hand, India this is the fourth time in the bottom. If you were going to try to pull out a Hail Mary, now would be the time. It does seem a little bit like she hasn't brought it up in any interviews. So I guess this is the future to the queens. Maybe she didn't want to bring it up because she was trying to protect her, but now that it's down. So anyway, then it comes down to Alexis and India. I don't know who to believe. Some people have said, well, if it happened, the producers would have footage, except remember, they don't film everything. We know that because they've talked about the ride from the hotel to the set and how they're not really allowed to talk, but they can kind of talk. And that's when Vanjie and Brooklyn would kind of hook up in the back seat. It's come up, it's not discussed a lot, but we know that there's these times when they're not directly on camera. If they're out back smoking and the camera's not with them. They can't have cameras on them 24/7. They're probably all mic'd once they're at the set, but you could get in a 30-second, like, I think we should vote for Shay. You know what I mean? Like that's not even 30 seconds. That's like a 3-second. Anyway, so I don't know if this will go anywhere. I don't know if we'll ever prove it. It does. The fact that Derek first week was like, India's a snake and, lying and stuff like that certainly does make it seem like, okay, well, this could be what Derek was talking about, or it could be the opposite, which is we've seen Alexis sort of, try to be like, oh, we should vote out Cracker because of this. And there was the whole, and then they talked about how Alexis was implying that people were, I didn't hear her specifically say it was Blair and Mayhem. But then we saw the thing of Blair and Mayhem talking and being like, oh, that Cracker. So I don't know. I don't actually know that we can know. I think that you can make a really good argument for either. So tell me in the comments if you have a really strong opinion. Shay does it great, does it against Vanjie. Vanjie's not really a lip sync assassin, but I like Vanjie. Big character. Loved seeing her on my screen. I'm okay with it. Was a joy the whole time. And... oh, next week looks intense. There's lots of crying. I'm really worried that what's going to happen is now that everyone that's not in the top, that's not the top, is in the bottom, that we're going to see Shea trip and fall 1 week and be like second, and they're going to vote her out, and then Juju, and then you're going to end up with. I don't have a problem with them going because they were genuinely the worst, but I just don't want to see it be like, oh, we're going to every week vote out the second top drag queen until it ends up being that 4, 5, and 6 make it, as opposed to, or I guess 5, 4, and 3 make it as opposed to 1 and 2. So we'll see. I wouldn't send any queens hate for doing it, but it's just not the show I want to watch. That's all there is to it. So tell me, right now for me, Shea and Juju absolutely in the top for me. Cracker I really like. I feel like Cracker just can't show her crackerness. Alexis is very strong based on that last thing, so I could see her making it. Blair's another one who has done good looks, but just isn't imprinting on my mind, and I think that's all 5 of them at this point. I think that's all we have left. Is that right? I think we're down to 5, so I think that's it. Juju, Shea, Cracker. Who else did I say? Blair. Who am I missing? And Alexis. Yeah, I mentioned them all. So tell me that. Do you have a strong reason to believe that India versus Alexis was lying? Do you have an opinion? There you go. Okay, I'll see you later.